What is going on, guys? It's Josh here with Buckeye Bow Hunter, and man, look at all the acorns dropping down in here. Look at all these fresh acorns. Dang. I am back out at the farm where opening evening I had some luck and I killed old two trunks. I want to get down in here just because I feel like, you know, I'm in the process of editing the actual hunt video right now, and I feel like I didn't really do the best job just kind of explaining what happened or where I think that deer, you know, came from and all that stuff. And I want to just get back in here while everything's still fresh in my mind and everything, you know, is still fresh sign wise, and kind of show you guys what happened that evening. And we're gonna take a walk down the trail that he came down and see where he was bedding. Hopefully we can find his little bedding area. And you know, I love doing this whenever I kill a big buck, going in and following the trail he came down or he came from, and kind of backtracking and trying to put together the whole story, or the story leading up to before I shot him, which just helps you learn the area you're hunting better, helps you learn about mature buck behavior, all kinds of things. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm standing at the base of the tree that I killed this deer on right now, and essentially I had a camera down in here on the other side of this creek. You might be able to see it. And I was getting pictures on and off all summer of that buck working this far bank of the creek, headed to the east or headed to the west, depending on the time of day. What it all came down to is it seemed like he was always bedded down in there. So this is a big swamp, this creek kind of wraps around. But leading up to the day that I shot that buck, I hadn't had him on camera since the 24th, and I killed him on the 28th, so that's 4 days, which didn't seem out of the ordinary to me, which is why I kind of got in here. He ended up coming down over here, so this creek splits these two kind of high spots. This is another big piece of topography that gets up high. It's not a clear cut, or it wasn't select cut, but it's just thick and gnarly, as you can see. And the first time I saw him, he was coming down this little trail. He was coming down this little trail right here, and he was about 12 yards from the base of my tree, and you can see him right there. And he was standing right here, I believe, or maybe right here, rubbing on this branch. He was standing right here rubbing on this branch, and you can see my stand is right up in here. So I shot him right here. We're, you know, the whole 3 steps from the base of my tree. Yeah, so I just kind of want to follow this trail and just see where it goes and see if we can find his bedding and kind of, you know, learn something from it. So let's go. It's hard to believe he would have been walking this because he's so big, but maybe he did. So this is the trail he came in on. It's hard to tell, but it goes down through here. And what's interesting about it is the creek is down here, and this is steep. I don't know if you can tell, but the top is just thick briars, hard to walk. And this is the trail just kind of cut into the side of this hill, which is pretty. Like, you can see all the tracks. I mean, the trail keeps going down there, but this is kind of open up in here. I kind of want to just peek my head in here and see if there's any rubs. This definitely looks like a bed to me. And this almost looks kind of like a bed too, right here. I don't see any hair, so if it is, to me it's not, they definitely look like beds, but they look kind of like old beds. It doesn't look super fresh. And to me, if he was using these a lot, there'd be some hair, there'd be some rubs. Let's just kind of walk around the top of this here a little bit, see if anything stands out to us. But there's a couple trails that cross the creek as I was walking, so he could have crossed that creek when I was watching that buck, where it was downpouring and I was looking the other way. Boy, this trail's tight. There's no way he went through here. There's no way he went through there, right? There's no way he went through there, right? I don't believe that. All right, change of plans. We're gonna back up and we're gonna cross the creek and see if that's where he was bedded. That buck could have easily crossed. Right here is a crossing, right? And what's funny is my tree, well, hold on. The tree's right here. But that little buck came out and it was raining and I was facing this way and trying to film that little buck. And then I heard splashing, right? So I wonder if he crossed the creek right here and I didn't see him until I slowly turned around right there. Ah, man, that makes a lot of sense actually, because yeah, look at this. I mean, you can see right here where the deer are crossing pretty hard. That makes a lot of sense because I don't see him going down into that swamp with where it's all wet, and it didn't look like there was any crossings down there because the creek was pretty deep. This is shallow, and if I'm a buck, I'm crossing right here. All right, guys, so I'm down on this floodplain right now, and I finally found some buck sign right here. We got a rub from this year. This almost looks like a freaking bed. This is definitely a bed. Look at this bed right here. I mean, that's definitely a bed, right? That's gotta be a bed. Look at this rub right here. Tore up. Alright, so I'm just still kind of searching around and checking a lot of these like exit trails coming out of that bedding area, and I just keep finding little rubs like this. So I'm pretty sure this is where that buck was bedded. I'm almost 99% sure he was bedded here on this little floodplain. Now, was he bedded like right here? Like, look, here's another one. So this is another trail leading right into that bed. Here's another one right here. So, you know, I wouldn't doubt it. Was this the exact bed he was bedded in the night I shot him? Who knows? But he came from this way, and he easily could have crossed the creek. So I'm thinking, if it's not this bed, like there's a rub right there, he's got a bed somewhere in here that he's been using more regularly. Let's look around the corner here. Seems like I keep finding beds underneath like big trees like this. Look at this bed right here. That's definitely a bed. You can see where the deer's back. Tracks getting up. There's looks like an old rub right there. he could have easily been bedded anywhere in this stuff. All right, so I just kind of walked a little bit around in here what I could, on checking a lot of these dry humps in here for fresher beds. I'm kind of looking for, I don't necessarily need to find a big fresh bed to feel like I found what I'm looking for, but it'd be cool to show you guys something that's been used a lot. But maybe he's not using the same bed over and over and over again. Maybe he's just kind of bedding wherever he feels like. Every buck's different. All right, so here's my bed I found earlier. I just kind of want to walk through why this is super cool. There's some rubs, but let's talk about why he picked this spot in particular. So if I bed down right here and I see what that buck sees, I mean, it's kind of open, but he's got a wall of brush behind him. He's got a wall of brush to his right. So the river runs from the east here, goes to the south of him, and then wraps all the way around, and then goes off to like the northeast. So he's out on like a point, essentially. And what's cool about this is all summer, I was getting pictures of him leaving this bedding area on east winds. Like literally, there was probably, out of the 100-some pictures I have of him, maybe a handful, I could count on two hands, that he did something different than that. It was I mean, to be honest, it was probably the most patternable deer that I've ever had on camera. If there was an east wind, I could probably expect to get a picture of him either in the morning coming into it or in the evening leaving it. And that's the reason that I was in here on Saturday evening, was because we actually had an east wind. So if I'm sitting here on an east wind, easterly, so it'd be, as long as it had some east to it, it could have some north component to it or some south component to it. He's getting up out of here, and then he's walking the edge of the creek, which you can't see. It's literally 20 feet behind this bush here. He's walking the edge of this creek out to the east with the wind blowing in his nose. And the whole time he's laying here all day long, he can smell all of what's out in front of him. But he's also got the river behind him, which is protecting his backside as well, because a lot of animals, most animals or predators, aren't going to approach him from across the river. They're going to approach him from this way. And he's also scent checking and paying attention to where he's seen danger before, right? My access path is right down here, about 80, 90 yards from here. So he's sitting here smelling, and waiting for me to walk across the creek and walk up my access path and go hunt somewhere up in there where I always hunt, because I usually do hunt this on a south or southeast wind, because I feel like a lot of the deer movement and sign is always back in there. So if I'm a big buck and I'm living here, I'm gonna bed here, because every time my dumb ass crosses that creek, he knows I'm here, and he goes and slips out that way or crosses the creek and disappears some other place. He's sitting here all day. He hasn't had anything bug him up. He gets up and he just does his thing. He works out. To the east, there's a big swamp out there. There's a lot of willows and stuff, and then after that there's some crop fields. So he could easily be moving more than a mile at night. This is the kind of stuff you're looking for when you're looking for a buck bed. You're looking for the points and bends and creeks. You're looking for high spots. You're looking for places where a buck will feel safe. If you put yourself in that buck's shoes, like if I sat here and I had the smell of a buck, would I feel safe here? And if I'm sitting here, I feel super safe. I feel like nobody's coming from this way. Like he's not getting a lot of, things buggering him up from the west. And if he is, he can see, right? Not every buck bedding area just like smacks you in the face like, oh my God, there's a giant living here. Part of me wanted to walk in here and find a bunch of 6 or 8 inch rubs that are just destroyed and big beds with hair in them and everything, but that's not always how it is. It's early in the season. A lot of these deer just lost their velvet a month ago, and they haven't had a lot of time to lay down a ton of sign yet, right? So there's not going to be as much sign as there will be in November. And then also the temperament of the deer. Maybe the buck I killed is not a super aggressive showboaty territorial buck. Maybe he's just hanging out. He hasn't gotten all that testosterone, flooding through his veins at this point yet, so he's not really, leaving a lot of sign. Who knows? Sign can be subtle. I just shot probably one of the oldest, biggest bucks I've ever killed, and that's the kind of sign he was leaving down, I think. Get out in the woods and backtrack where that deer came from, because it's definitely going to help you learn things. It's going to help you learn things about your property that you didn't know. It's going to help you learn things about deer behavior. It's going to help you learn about what to look for scouting wise, and you can take that stuff to other properties or public land or whatever. It's just going to help you be a better deer hunter and kind of learn what these deer do. You know, I kind of learned that buck I killed, he wasn't leaving a lot of sign. That doesn't mean there's not a big buck there. If I find stuff like that on public land, I'm going to think twice before I'm like, let me keep moving and try to find something better. If there's one thing to take away from this specific situation, I would kind of say that's it. That and the fact that he was bedded on that point with the river protecting his backside on east winds. I mean, it's kind of just uncanny to me. It's pretty wild. Perfect spot for a buck to bed. If you're an old, gnarly buck who's been around the block, that's what you're gonna do. Hopefully this helped you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the hunt. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the Whitetailer series. I've been working super hard on it. I got another video like this from a buck I actually killed 2 years ago on this property too, and I learned a lot about backtracking that buck as well. So it can definitely help you. Get out there and try it. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see y'all on the next one.